Guys, welcome back. Here I am in the flesh. Is this another video? Oh my god, guys, what? Don't mind my eyebrows, I shaved them off. Anyway, as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about an edible experience that really kind of fucked my shit up for a while. But before I go into that, I want to say that I am still pro marijuana regulation. Both for recreational and medicinal reasons. Like, just because I had a bad experience doesn't mean I'm like anti-weed or anything like that. I don't want people dragging me into comments saying ting 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 ting. I don't know what that means, but it felt right in the moment. But yeah, I am still pro marijuana regulation across the board for medicinal and recreational reasons. So I just wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way. Just because I had a bad experience doesn't mean I'm anti-weed. So this video is going to be in a couple different parts. The first thing I'm going to start with is my actual experience. So if hearing things like this triggers you, just skip ahead, and I will put a timestamp on the video somewhere to show when I get to like the aftermath. So I had smoked marijuana a couple of times. I could probably count how many times I've smoked on two hands. I usually say I smoked like 7 times because that number feels right. But I hadn't smoked very much, and I just started the summer before I went to college. So I was dating someone at the time, and I wanted to get him something for his birthday, something that we could kind of both experience. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what about edibles, you know? I wasn't sure if he had tried them at the time, but he was an avid smoker, so I was like, let's get it. So I contacted someone, got edibles, excuse me, bada bing, bada bang. And typically whenever I go about taking something or doing something, like with all of my piercings I did this, with tattoos I did this, I typically do a lot of research before I actually get into doing it. I don't know why I didn't do that with edibles, dumb bitch, but I didn't. I just kind of went right for it. So, sorry, my hair smells really good because I washed it and got it retwisted. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So anyway, so I wasn't sure how much to eat, and it was good, so I was just eating it, and I ended up eating the whole thing, and the person wasn't exactly sure how much was in it. So it's fine. It wasn't. Spoiler. But, so, I looked down. It's gone. The person I was dating, I think he only ate half of it. Like, I don't think he ate the whole thing, if I'm remembering correctly. This was 4 years ago, so my memory is a little fucked. But, so, for a while, everything's fine. I'm just like, what the fuck is that? Like, this, I ain't feeling shit. Like, what's going on? Because like I said, I didn't do research into edibles. I didn't realize it takes, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to set in. So, me and him and some friends, we go to Taco Bell, and this is where it starts hitting. Like, I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, there was a song playing on the radio. It was a song by Lil Dicky, actually, and I had to physically Google the song once I was not high anymore to make sure that it was real. Like, I definitely lost touch with reality. I blacked out for certain periods. I don't remember how we got to where we were. And then I got lost in my head. So I thought that I was eating my food. And like when I finally came out of my head, if that makes any sense, I hadn't touched my food. And that was when I went to the bathroom and kind of looked in the mirror. And that's when paranoia started setting in. And I was like, oh shit, I'm fucked up. Like I am violently fucked up in a Taco Bell on a Thursday evening. Like, so I walked back out and we go back to where we was going. I'm not gonna say where or nothing. But, and it kind of, I'm supposed to get back to my, place where I, sleep, and I have to ride my bike to get there. And y'all, I don't remember the bike ride there. I do remember almost crashing into a couple whenever I first get on the bike, and the person I'm dating is like, bro, you gotta be careful. And I'm like, I can't see. Like, I cannot physically see shit right now. Y'all, I was off the shits. And somehow I get to where I need to be, and I'm trying to lock my bike up. So for like 5 minutes, okay, and it feels like an eternity. I'm sitting there trying to get it's a U-lock, and a U-lock is a U, and then it locks, and it's metal, and you have to have like steel bolt cutters to get through it. It's like the best way to not have your bike stolen, basically. And I'm sitting here fidgeting with this bitch, trying to get it to lock together, and finally I lock it. And then the person I'm dating starts laughing and says, "You dumb bitch." The only thing I had done with that lock is lock it to itself. It wasn't on the bike. It wasn't on the pole where the bike needed to be locked to. It was simply locked to itself. And that's when I knew that I was catastrophically fucked up. So he gets it for me, and he locks it, and then he asks me to get something out of my purse for him. And I could not, like, my brain and hands were not cooperating to the point where I could find what he was. I had no idea what I didn't know it was a purse I was in. And that's when my heart rate started to speed up, and I started to go into the panic attack. So I give him what he needs, and I go up to my place of living, and I lay down, and I tried to go to sleep. And I don't know if I slept at all that night, guys. I either slept or hallucinated. I know for sure I hallucinated some of it. I hallucinated my roommate being a tornado and throwing stuff around the room. And then I also had a terrible out-of-body experience. It felt like I was laying on my bed, but my soul, we'll use that example just because I feel like most people know what that is, was above my body. It was a terrible experience. That panic attack lasted for a very long time. When I woke up the next morning, I thought that I was fine. I thought I was Gucci, and I got up and I was like, I am definitely still very high. I was high for about 36 hours. It took about a week and a half to feel like myself again. I went to class that morning, and I was like, man, I can make it. Like, I'm good. And I was like, it's probably been like an hour already. I looked at the clock, and it had only been 10 minutes. I packed my shit in the middle of the lecture and left that bitch immediately. I went to lay down, and then by lunch that same day, I felt a little bit better, and after eating, I felt even better as well. So that was the experience. That's what had happened. That's on period child fleek. Woo sis. So for a while, everything was good. I did not smoke anymore, didn't take any more edibles. No. I don't know why I did this, but no. I actually took about that much of an edible, which really isn't much at all. But other than that, I didn't really smoke anymore, didn't really do edibles. I was like, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. That's literally all I thought. And like I said, I'm still pro marijuana regulation everywhere. It didn't make me hate weed. It was just like I was just like, you know, maybe we've crossed that bridge now that we've gotten to it. Let's seal that motherfucker up and not open that again. So, it started around, I guess, November that I started to feel very weird. I started to have panic attacks, and I'd never had a panic attack before that experience. I had heart palpitations before and things like that, but never a full panic attack, and I started having them. And then I started feeling kind of detached from the world, and that's what derealization is. So derealization and depersonalization can be their own disorders, or they can be together. Derealization is detachment from reality and from the world. You can be in a dreamlike state. Things can seem bigger or smaller than they are. There are a lot of symptoms that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to trigger them in myself. But that is basically what derealization is. I will leave links to websites with further information in the description box. And then depersonalization is detachment from your body. So it's like the mind and the body are split. It can sometimes feel like you're just sitting in your body and you're not actually taking part. Sometimes it can feel like two people are in your body, and sometimes it can feel like, or it feels like basically that these are my hands, but they don't really feel like my hands. And sometimes you'll look in the mirror and you can't exactly recognize who is in the mirror. Even though you know rationally and logically it's you, it doesn't look like you. That's the best way I can describe what it's like. It is something that you have to experience to really grasp truly. And again, I will put links down in the comments because there are many different symptoms for DR, derealization, and DP, depersonalization. And just because I don't have the symptoms doesn't, I just touched my nipple, sorry. Just because I don't have the symptoms doesn't mean they don't exist. So, I have had derealization, depersonalization for 4 years. At this point, I just say that it's chronic because once it lasts, I believe 6 months to a year without letting up, I think that you can legally say it's a chronic disorder. I knew before any counselors or anything knew, because when you have these disorders, you know. This is the one time that I would say you could probably self-diagnose. In the beginning, I scoured the internet. I looked everywhere I could to figure out what the hell was going on with me. And so within a couple of weeks, I knew what was wrong, and I had looked up how to fix it, easy cures, what to do if I'm feeling this way. And I will say that while the research did help me, it also hindered me. So a big part of derealization and depersonalization is the fear, the anxiety, and having it and feeling that way causes fear and anxiety, which just strengthen the monster even further. So the first thing I'm gonna say is, if you are researching it constantly, looking things up, reading horror stories, stop. And I know that that's really difficult, and I know that I am coming from a place where it's been 4 years since I've been dealing with this, and I'm comfortable with it now. And you, if you're finding this video, you're probably not. And I understand that, and I feel for you 100%, but researching it and scaring yourself is just gonna make the condition worse, and it's gonna make it last that much longer. The main thing that I can say about this is not to be afraid of it. Depersonalization and derealization are literally just your body's defense mechanisms. That's all they are. It is a way to keep your body safe and your mind safe. I'm sure that it happens. I mean, it is a natural thing. It happens when we deal with something tragic. Typically, it goes away very quickly, but sometimes it can get stuck if you've gone through something pretty traumatic. It can also be triggered by street drugs. And even if you haven't been through anything traumatic, if you had a traumatic past, that built up trauma basically can also trigger the disorder. So, first things first, the most important thing you could probably learn from this video is don't fear it. Just let it be. I don't know how I don't want to sound insensitive, but I'm going to compare it to cancer just for a moment. So with cancer, there's nothing you can do about it except for do the treatments and accept that it is what it is. And while cancer is something that is physical and this is something that is mental, it is a similar sentiment. You can't fight it, and if you fight it, you really just make it stronger. You just have to accept it for what it is and let it be and live your life. And I know that's difficult, so I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks and things I did in order to kind of help. So the first thing I did after researching it constantly was try to change my diet. One way to kind of cure this disorder, and actually before I get into that, I'm going to say a cure is just removing the symptoms. You never really cure things, if that makes sense. You just take the symptoms away. And so basically when you think of DRDP, you want to work on eliminating the symptoms. You cannot just get rid of it it's not a light switch. You can't flick it on and flick it off. So when you're thinking of a cure, you have to think of getting to the root and eliminating it instead of hoping that one day you wake up and it's just not there anymore. Because, maybe that works for some people, but based on what I've seen for the vast majority of it, that's not how it works. And I'm being painfully honest, because I'm not going to give anyone false hope and say that, oh, if you do this, if you stare at the sun for 6 hours on a Thursday evening during a leap year, then you're cured. Like, that's just, it's not, there's no formula like that. You have to cater the formula to yourself. So, the first thing I did was I tried to change my diet. That was something I could do within reason, within my control. And so a very clean diet with lots of vegetables, green vegetables, fruits, brain foods, basically, because your brain is trying to heal and your neurotransmitters are trying to heal from the trauma that you experienced. So the best thing is to rebalance your body and your brain in order to figure out how to get back to where you were, if that makes sense. Fish is really good for you, but it's got to be good fish, nothing too high in mercury. That's a problem. Fish is really good for you, but the mercury in it is bad. So you find things like tilapia or salmon, tuna, things like that. Making sure to eat vitamins, a multivitamin. Being sure to eat lots of green vegetables, spinach, lettuce, green beans, celery, turnip greens, like mainly fresh. And that's very difficult. A lot of the times we eat a lot of canned vegetables simply because fresh vegetables, A, are expensive, and B, perish very quickly. But in a best case scenario, you would be eating fresh vegetables and fresh fruits constantly. Nothing canned, nothing bagged, nothing frozen. But if you have to, then canned, bagged, and frozen is, it's a good alternative. Nah. Sorry. And then meats, no red meat, which in general red meat is pretty bad for you, but lean chicken, fish. That's about it when it comes to meats. And then for drinks, nothing super high in sugar, so no sodas, pretty much no sugary drinks. So water, plain tea, green tea, that's about it. Which leads me to kind of the next thing. No energy drinks. No energy drinks. No coffee. No alcohol, and no other drugs. I think that explains itself. All of those things get your heart rate up. They can cause anxiety, and the anxiety will then worsen the DRDP. Obviously, do what you want. This is just me trying to help, giving tips that have worked for me. So I tried diet. It helped and hindered. It helped because I did feel better whenever I was eating better, but being depressed, and I was severely depressed during this time, it was hard to meal prep, if that makes sense. Because while this video does focus heavily on DRDP, I was also, while this video does focus heavily on derealization-depersonalization disorder, the experience also triggered very severe depression, panic disorder. It worsened my PTSD, and it caused new PTSD. And it also worsened my suicidal ideation. So, while this video does focus heavily on those parts, it also did all of that as well. And if you want a video talking about any of those, just let me know in the comments. I just didn't want to, I just wanted this to focus mainly on DRDP because those are the disorders that most people don't know about, especially together. Okay, so the next thing I tried was grounding meditation and yoga. So when it comes to the RNDP, you need to ground yourself because your body, your soul is basically wanting to get out of your body. That's kind of what that's what depersonalization is. So in order to force yourself back into your body, you need to do grounding activities that literally make you go back into your body. Grounding meditation works. I used to use mala beads. Let me see if I can find those. I used to use mala beads. I would put them around my wrist and I would just listen, or I would go around the necklace and repeat affirmations while I was meditating. And you have to have the affirmations that I used, because your body feels unsafe, and that's why DRDP is triggered. Is you would, I'm just going to give you an example. If I were meditating, I am safe, I am secure, I am at peace, I am safe, I am secure, I am at peace. And that's something that you would do. You would reaffirm that every single time so that you could go into your subconscious and let your subconscious know that you're okay and that you're safe and that the event that happened is over. It had an end. And teaching your body that will help the fight or flight response that gets triggered to relax. Yoga is very similar. Doing grounding yoga literally grounds you into your body, and that's because you're actually using your body. And you have to focus. When you do yoga, you have to focus on what you're doing. There's also yoga where you can, there's also grounding yoga, and there's yoga for anxiety and depression. Whenever I was having a panic attack, I would turn on yoga with Adrienne. She has a lot of amazing yoga videos for anxiety and panic attacks. And those would pull me out of panic attacks immediately because they are calming your nervous system, and that's what a panic attack is. In general, doing yoga does help because, again, it's forcing you to ground yourself. I did yoga with Adrienne. I did her 30-day playlist. It's where it gradually gets harder, but it's you begin day 1 and then day 2, day 3, day 4, and you go all the way to 30 days. And so I would really suggest you find something like that for you that helps, that grounds you, and try that out. I also did some tapping, and so tapping is going into your certain energy spots in your body that are important for healing, and you tap and you use you tap and you use your affirmations, and it's sort of like acupuncture, but something you can do at home. I did that for a little while. It didn't really do much for me, but I don't know if I did it long enough. Which brings me to a side point is you have to do these consistently and for a little while. You can't do them for like a week consistently and then be like, oh, they're not working, so I'm gonna move to something else. That's not gonna work. That is not gonna work, Haney. Your body has to get used to it. I would say 3 to 6 months, and if it doesn't help, move on to the next thing. And that doesn't mean you have to do them one at a time. You can incorporate them as you feel the need to, but do not do them for 2 weeks and then not see any immediate results and be like, bitch, no ma'am. Because when it comes to healing yourself, healing is really a lifelong experience. It's not something that happens overnight. Unfortunately, I wish it did, but it don't. So anyway, I went on a tangent. I'm sorry if this video seems a little all over the place. It's just because it's hard to talk about something that is as messy as this, if that makes sense. Anyway, moving on. Oh my god, I can't stop doing that. I got that from TikTok. Anyway, so yes, tapping. It's literally tapping into your natural healing centers in your body. And there's tons of videos on YouTube that show you what to do and how to do it. And if you want to give tapping a try, I would really suggest doing it. Next, I'm going to get into the different therapies that I tried. And this was a lot. At one point, I was seeing a talk therapist and a hypnotherapist an hour away from me. I tried hypnotherapy, and being hypnotized is not like what you think in movies. You are very aware. It's safe. It's like I would almost maybe describe it as a deep relaxation. And if you want a video on a more in-depth, video of what hypnotherapy is, just let me know in the comments, but I'm not going to go into that because, again, I don't want this video to be too long. So I tried hypnotherapy. While with my hypnotherapist, we also did brain spotting. So we did hypnotherapy, brain spotting, we did some EMDR, and just a brief explanation of what EMDR is. Somebody realized that looking left to right like that, whenever you were feeling stressed, helped you calm down. And so therapists took that and sometimes they use vibration tools, and sometimes they just use your finger. And they talk you through a memory, sort of, and then make you look left to right, and it is supposed to calm you. And actually EMDR was monumental in helping me be able to sleep again, because whenever I would sleep alone, the minute my body would go into REM, my body would trigger a panic attack and I'd wake right up. And at one point I was not getting any sleep and I was dying, guys. I was dying. Not literally, I wasn't literally dying, but like I was dying, because as someone I've been depressed all my life, I love sleep, and a bitch was not getting sleep and I was mad. But anyway, so hypnotherapy, EMDR, brain spotting, I did some CBT, I did some group therapy, I did inner child work. Inner child work is just different exercises that get you to talk to your inner child to try and figure out what they need and what they want. I did drawing therapy, and then just regular talk therapy. So I did a lot, okay? I did a lot of therapy, guys. It's a lot of shit. Did it help? Well, I mean, probably. It did not do what I wanted it to do. It did not cure the DRDP. Did it help with anxiety and things like that? Yeah, it did. It helped me not catastrophize anymore. I used to wake up every day and be like, man, I'm never gonna get better. I'm gonna kill myself. Trigger warning. But now I can, if I start feeling, a little more anxious than usual, I'm just like, oh, you know what? It'll pass. I'm good. And that's not to say I don't have bad days, because I do have bad days. I had a really bad 2 weeks, but now I'm okay again, and so anyway, moving right along. So along with therapies, I also did nothing, and that was probably the worst decision, because when I say I did nothing, I mean like I took a break from trying to tackle it. I stopped. I dropped out of college and I just existed, and that was probably the worst thing that I did, because I didn't do anything while I took that break. It got to the point where I was sleeping like 18-hour days. I wasn't getting out of bed. I was showering constantly. I wasn't eating. I didn't leave my house for 3 weeks, except to go to therapy. I was slipping from reality even more, and that worsened it. You have to have a normal life, as normal as you can, and it's baby steps, okay? I don't expect you to go from being, secluded in your house to a party. Obviously, not during this motherfucking pandemic, for sure. Wear your mask. But it is baby steps. You cannot seclude yourself in the house, even if you feel terrible, even if it makes you nervous to go outside. You have to, because you have to teach your body that it is safe and that it is okay and that you're fine. But during that time, I was like that for probably 5-6 months, and I don't know how I made it through that. To this day, I don't know. If it hadn't been for the support in my life, I would not have made it through that. And ultimately, the only thing that was able to get me out, and y'all finna be real mad if y'all are against medicine, but I started taking antidepressants. And this was after trying everything. I mean, I got so depressed to the point where I was like falling asleep at work because of just, my body was just like, nope, good night. So I want you to know that you guys have gotten this far in the video. I want you to realize everything I tried before I went straight to medicine, because there are some people who think that we got some medicine shamers. Okay, we got some medicine shamers, guys, and I'm not gonna shame you if you jump straight to medicine. This shit is insane. I mean, hello, if there was a medicine that was like can cure ASAP Rocky, I would be like, bitch, go ahead and inject me. But I wanted to try everything I could before I got to medicine. So I started on 10 milligrams of Prozac, I think. I do not remember. But I started with Prozac, and the side effects from that were wild, guys. I was like, oh shit, I don't know about this. I had a really bad experience, almost killed myself. It was not a good swing. That is to say that my mom is bipolar schizophrenic with depression and PTSD. She had a really bad experience with Prozac too. So knowing that, I probably would have skipped it altogether because my mother I have half my mother's genetic makeup, so hello, goodbye. But I went to Zoloft instead, 25 milligrams of Zoloft. And actually going from Prozac to Zoloft was pretty easy because I already had a similar molecule, I would say. I don't know the correct terminology, but I already had something similar in my body, so the Zoloft side effects actually weren't there. And that's not to say that helped immediately. It actually got worse for about 3-4 months maybe before my body was acclimated to it. I in general have mood swings and things like that. My therapist an hour away from me used to say that I might have traits of like bipolar disorder, but not enough to obviously diagnose it, which I mean could be fair. My mother does have it, but my mood swings were very intense, very intense. I was up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and I'm talking about up, down in a span of like a couple of minutes. Like I would be here, and then 5 minutes later I'd be here, and then 6 minutes later I'd be here, and it was terrible. But I could deal with the Zoloft, and I could understand that it might get a little worse before it got better. What I knew I couldn't take Prozac because it got real bad real quick, and you have to listen to your body. So when you're taking these medications and you're trying to find what works for you, you really have to listen and make sure you're doing what's good for your body. It will get a little worse before it gets better, but if your suicidal thoughts get worse, anything like that, you need to talk to your prescriber and get that shit checked ASAP. One thing that I wish was more available is gene site testing. They can test your genes and see what medications across the board are going to be better for you, which ones are going to have adverse reactions, but it's not as big as it should be, and that's because of course there's more money in making you try different things than there is money in just knowing right off the bat what's good for you. I said what I said.
I said what I said. I said what I said. I said what I said.
So yes, medication actually saved my life. I was able to get a job, like a full-time job. I was able to start working again. I started going out of the house more. I was eating, and for once things didn't feel so bad. Like, I was almost mad. To this day, I'm mad that I took so long to just get on medication and just try it, because I wasted it was a very long 2 years just suffering, really. So yeah, I hope that was helpful to you. If you guys have any more questions about it, just let me know in the comments, because I think I've covered most everything. But the main thing that I really want to drive home is the fact that you cannot fear it, and you have to have a normal life, as normal as it can be. You can't fear it. You have to go on as normal. You cannot let it rule you, because if you let it rule you, it will rule you. I mean, and I know that I'm saying, I sound like a broken record, but if you let it control you, then it will. Okay, if you give it an inch, it's going to take 2,000 miles. You have to, one way or another, you have to gain control back. Because that's the only way it's going to get better, and it gets better in stages. So I went from, an example would be, when it first started, I was having panic attacks 2 and 3 times a day, and then as I understood what it was and my body calmed down, I was having 1 panic attack a day, and then I was having maybe 2 a week, and then 1 a week, and then I was going weeks without panic attacks. And that's how it's stages, and it's not linear, okay? Healing is not like this. It's a little bit like this and maybe that, and this is, you know. So, yeah, the main thing I just want to say is just give it time. Like, really give it time. Work at it. Believe, okay? Believe that you're going to get better, because you will. I mean, like I said, it's not a switch. You're not just going to be one way one day and then one way the other. That's not how it's going to work. But every day you're going to get a little bit closer to healing. And if you ask the universe for it and you do your part, then the universe will reward you. And it took a long time to learn that. I was really resentful of the fact that I was doing everything I needed to do and I wasn't getting better. But I also wasn't giving it time. And time is probably your biggest healer, if that makes sense. And you know what? I still have it. It's not gone. It's livable. It's bearable. I've come to accept that it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do to change it. So when it decides to leave me, if it decides to leave me, then it will. And if I have to have it the rest of my life, then I will. That's not to say I won't have bad days, but I've been having a lot of good days. And I can't let something like this stop me from living my life, you know? You have to just keep going. And I know it's hard. It's really hard. Some days it's damn near impossible. But you can do it, and you will do it. And you see I'm sitting here, and I'm you know, I think I'm glowing, really. I feel great. You're gonna get here too. That being said, if you have any questions, if you ever want to talk about what you're experiencing, my social medias will be linked at the beginning of the video and at the end of the video, and I'm more than happy to talk to you and help you through whatever you need. But just remember that don't do too much research into it, and don't dwell on it. Live your life. Just be who you are, and when it is ready to leave you, then it will, and not a moment before. I really thank you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit all over the place. My life is not linear, so I can't really, it's hard to make a linear video. I also have ADHD and I go on tangents. I'm going on a tangent right now. Well, let me reel it back. But if you enjoyed it, you know, let me know in the comments. Like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want me to go into depth about anything in this video, the diet, the therapies, the yoga, anything like that, please let me know and I will do that in a separate video. Again, I just wanted to do a basic type, this is what I'm dealing with. If you want me to go into any of the disorders that I have, that I'm living with, also let me know that as well, because I am more than happy to do that. And again, if you guys have any questions, let me know and I will answer them in the comments. Thank you again for watching. And remember that healing is on its way to you. Also, I'm jumping in here really quick to say this. I really hate whenever people say, are you sure that was weed? Do you think you were laced? That just shows that you don't know what exactly marijuana is, how it can affect, oh my god, my eyebrows look so, okay, anyway. That just kind of shows that you don't really know what marijuana is and what it can do and how it differs. Smoking marijuana and ingesting it are very different. They cause very different experiences. That's why one is a body high and one is a mind high. If you quote-unquote overdose on marijuana, and yes, it is possible, you're not going to die, obviously, but other things will happen. So one of the symptoms of overdose with marijuana edibles is hallucinations and delusions. I will link tons of articles in the description. There will be tons of stuff that you guys can do your own research and form your own opinions. But this happens, and to ignore it and to say that it doesn't happen is really stupid, and it really just leads to more people being in positions like I'm in. So if someone says that they felt some type of way from weed, whether it's delusions or hallucinations, don't invalidate them. Don't invalidate them by saying, are you sure it was weed? Because yes, it was. And if you don't know that weed can do that to you in edible form, then maybe you should do more research to what you're putting in your body. So again, thank you for watching this video. I just had to say this because it's really irritating whenever people say that to me, as if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, as if I've not done 4 years research and talked to several different counselors, as well as people who study weed. Sure.